All right, everybody. This is the first episode of Lit. I'm the host, Yahdon Israel. Lit is the premier platform for all things literature, all things lit, all things dope, all things swag. Today's first guest ever, going to make history with. We got Tracy O'Neill, writer, novelist, one of the swaggiest writers I know. She came down here to chop it up about her book, about some swag stuff, and about culture. We're going to have a dope conversation. But before we get started, I got to give Tracy the honors of making one of the first douces ever on the Marduces, the new drink, the dope drink. So let's give her a round of applause for coming. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Tracy. So what the Marduce is, it's a mix of Martinelli's apple juice, top shelf, with Douce cognac, more top shelf. So I'm going to let you do the honors of opening the bottle.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, so
I
this
get to pop the bottle?
Yeah. This is celebratory. First episode of Lit. You got to pop it open. Yeah. Now what you're going to do is
now
you're going to
shine it.
Yeah. So now you got to take your your Martinelli's.
Okay.
And you crack it open. And you're going to drink past the leaves. You're going to drink the apple juice past the leaves.
Oh my God.
It's for the perfect mix. I'm telling you. It's going to be good. So you got to do.
We're both gonna do it.
Yeah, we're gonna do it together.
Okay.
You know, it's weird when you don't when you let one person do it. You just watch the other person. Okay, so ready? Boom. Cheers on the first. Boom. A little more. Then what you gonna do is I'm gonna pour you up. Get that. Boom. Then you want to get what my man Danny will call a nice whirlpool going. So you want to rotate the bottle clockwise. Is it clockwise or counterclockwise, Danny? Clockwise. So yeah, you want to get a clockwise twirl on it just to get that going.
Well, I don't know if you know this about me,
Okay.
but I used to be a bartender.
Okay, so
I
then.
got the cocktail.
All right, so she got the cocktail shake. All right, and then you just going, pop it open. Wait, so we don't get in trouble with the sponsors that we don't have or nobody. Just put the label over it. I brought the marker for some added swag. I'm just gonna draw MD on mine, so you know this. What do you?
Hit me up.
Okay, boom. Swag you up right now. Boom. Okay. Boom. MD. We'll do the best we can with what we have. We had scotch tape, but somebody absconded it. But cheers to the first episode. Let's see what you think about this the Marduce mix.
Okay. That is delicious.
Yeah, there we go. That's so let's get this cracking. Tell us where you're from. I know you said I didn't know where you was from, but then you said you was from New Hampshire.
I am from New Hampshire.
Okay.
Yeah.
Born and raised.
I was not born there. I was born in South Korea, but I was raised mostly in New Hampshire.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, how did you make the transition? How did you make from South Korea to New Hampshire?
Well, I was adopted when I was maybe like 5 or 6 months old, so it's not really something I remember.
All right, cool. Yeah. And so, growing up in New Hampshire, what was that like? How did you navigate that space?
The space of New Hampshire?
Yeah.
Well, how you do it is you hike, which is just walking.
Okay.
Yeah, but everything is hiking in New Hampshire.
Damn.
Yeah.
All right. So, because this is lit, because this is about books, do you remember the first thing that you read that made you that made literature real to you?
Yeah. I think maybe that's a slightly different question than like what made me want to be a writer.
Okay.
But I guess that there's like one Amy Hempel story that's really, really short. Memoir.
Okay.
I brought it.
All right, dope.
I just happened to be prepared.
Hey.
So the whole story is just once in my life. Oh, when have I ever wanted anything just once in my life? And I think that being able to understand that as a story was something that made me want to be a writer.
So how would you, and so like this, repeat it again? What is it?
Okay. Just once in my life. Oh, when have I ever wanted anything just once in my life?
So explain it. I mean, break that down for me, because
Okay.
it sounds like a circular logic.
Yeah, I mean, so I think the reason that I really love it is that it's clearly about longing and desire, and you hear it and you get a sense of this character that's behind that, like somebody who never just sort of casually likes something, always really, really wants something and wants that thing to continue.
Right.
So I think that's one of the reasons that I like it so much.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the novel that you wrote, The Hopeful, published in 2015, correct?
Yes.
Just finished it last night. Spent what I really loved about the book was, I think you have a lot of these like sort of observations slash like nuggets of knowledge that you drop in there. And one of my favorite quotes in there was this whole idea of like the main character, Alivo Pro. Is that how you say it?
Alivo Pro, yeah.
Alivo Pro, Native American figure skater, adopted by a family in New Hampshire. And it was saying this thing about like how figure skating is a woman's sport, but at the same time, it's one that does not allow a woman's body.
Right.
And so part of how you exist in a woman's sport is ironically by not having a woman's body.
Sure.
And so how that seemed to me to be the crux of the book, this sort of like, you're doing something that involves you, but then to really be fully invested or to really be good at it, you have to sort of remove yourself as much as possible in the context of like her, the main character being a woman. So for you, like how did this book come about? Like that, even at that sort of tension in a book, because like I can't think of that many other sports where like you have to be both present and removed at the same time.
Yeah, so I think that I was really interested in that paradox because I'm somebody who definitely thinks of identity being really, really grounded in the body.
Okay.
And so one of the things that comes up in the book over and over again is whether there is sort of this binary between body and mind that makes up the self.
Yeah.
And I think that this character is trying to figure out what that relationship is between the mind and the body, and if she wants something that's this life of the body and doesn't have it,
Right.
what does that mean?
Right.
And I think in a lot of ways people read the book and they think, oh, this character's body fails her, but in some ways her mind fails her as well.
Yeah. Because there's several times where she's talking to her psychiatrist, and it's just for plot. Like make sure was great to have the writer here. So from what I understand, the plot is that Aliva Pro, Ali, right, for short. She is trying to become a youth champion, a national champion,
or like an Olympic champion.
And she like tries to do a particular trick, and she like disconnects like two vertebrae or like.
Yeah, she has a back injury. Yeah.
Yeah, and then she tries to get back to figure skating, but there's that question of time working against her body, and then she goes to therapy, and she's talking to the therapist, and a lot of what comes up constantly in the conversations and throughout the book is this thing about the mind's eye needing to see the move before the body can execute, right? Like the mind has to lead, the body has to follow, right? So from what I understand, I think we had the conversation that this all comes from your understanding of what it means to figure skate, because you were a figure skater.
I was a figure skater, yeah.
So when did that start? Did that start at around the same time that Ali's?
I started skating when I was maybe like around 10 years old, which is really old for figure skating. Like a lot of people will start when they're like 3, 4, 5.
Damn.
Yeah.
And how did you fall into it?
I think it was like a birthday party or something that I got invited to.
Yeah.
And I think I was the only person who showed up to this birthday, which is, I know, it was a little bit sad.
Damn.
Yeah. But yeah, I went and I was like, this is great.
Yeah.
And so that was pretty much it. Like, you just kind of get on the ice, and I think people either love it immediately or it's just not for them.
Yeah, I don't think that was something for me. My rhythm was just completely off.
Yeah?
I remember the first time I think I went ice skating was 8th grade, and my ankles just hurt a lot. And I don't know if it was the bad skates or whatever, and I remember this girl I was in class with, she was trying not to fall, and she did like the flailing thing, and like she pulled me down, and then she did end up falling, and I got like a bad concussion and so for that, and I was just like, nah, I'm not doing this.
This is not for me.
Yeah, so you get on the ice, and it just made sense to you.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think like some people get on and they can immediately skate, and if you're one of those people, then it's really fun. And if you're not, it's just miserable.
And your parents at the time, they saw this and it was like, you can do this?
I don't think that they were actually there.
Okay.
Yeah, but I came home that day and there was like a cranberry bog behind our house.
What's that?
It's like where they grow cranberries, and there's a lot of water.
Okay. I'm from Brooklyn. I don't
and-
know anything about
yeah.
cranberry crogs.
Bog.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to get one of these when I blow up.
You're gonna go buy a cranberry bog.
That's the first thing I'm gonna do with my money. I'm not even gonna pay taxes. I'm gonna give me a cranberry bog. I'm gonna do that. That's what I'm gonna do.
Okay. But yeah, so I was like, I want to go out there and skate, but I didn't actually have any skates. So
Okay. So then what happened? So how did you?
So then I was like, oh, I'm gonna go out there with my rollerblades.
Oh shit.
Yeah. And my parents were not excited about that idea.
So they jumped in.
Yeah.
They intervened.
Yeah.
And then the transition from roller skates to when did you start taking figure skating seriously? When did it become like this is something you possibly would have wanted to do?
I think maybe like 11 or 12, 13, like right around that time when you're sort of becoming like a young adult.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so were you practicing for these 3 years or
Oh yeah, no, I was like taking lessons and yeah.
what was the first trick you remember landing?
Well, there's like a hierarchy of difficulty. So
Okay.
like the first jump you learn is like a waltz jump, and then you like move on from there.
And what a waltz jump, how would you like if you can use this pin?
Okay.
Okay. So this is
Well, I need legs. Okay.
you know what? There's a Goku right there. Give me that Super Saiyan Goku.
Oh yeah.
Just grab that. One of the cameramen, Clarence is being very. So yes,
Okay. So
We
you
got-
want me to teach you?
yes. Teach me with the Super Saiyan Goku.
Okay. Are you a lefty or a righty?
Right.
Okay. So if you're a righty, then you would step on your left foot. Am I in the frame? Yeah. Okay.
we're
So
good.
you'd step on your left foot,
Right.
and then you would kick your right leg up, and then you would land on your right foot.
Oh, so like that's the okay.
Yeah.
That's like the standard.
That's like the simplest one. yeah.
Okay. And how long did it take you to learn that first?
Oh, I think you just learn that in like a day. It's like if you're not
Word.
afraid, yeah, if you're not afraid, you just learn it right away because it's only like a half turn. Yeah.
Word. Okay. And then so from there.
You have to be like pretty uncoordinated to not get it the first shot. It's kind of like taking a step.
I must be really uncoordinated when it comes to ice skating, because I can't even stay like up on my feet. Like I gotta use the.
No, I mean like if you've been taking lessons.
Oh,
and
yeah,
stuff,
yeah,
you've
okay.
Been, like, yeah.
I'm gonna have to get these lessons up. So okay, you land this.
Mm-hmm.
What's next? What becomes? Take me up the hierarchy.
Oh well, I mean you can like
Goku's gonna be
you
up,
can break
but-
it down into like a million pieces, like forever and ever. It's such an intricate, weird sport.
Right.
But essentially, like I'm gonna fast forward. Is that
Okay. Yeah. No. Do your thing.
Okay, so then I kept going with it.
Yeah.
And I really loved it, and I was taking lessons like in New Hampshire and then in Massachusetts, and then I did actually fracture 3 vertebrae. So
Oh.
then I stopped.
I
Yeah.
would hope so.
Yeah, but then I actually came back.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I
you
had
fractured
this-
3 vertebrae at what
Yeah.
age?
like 15 or 16.
Jeez Louise.
Yeah. But then I like came back to it. Like I had like the back brace
Yeah.
and whatever. And then I came back afterward. But then I think I only lasted like another year.
So you did it for another year. Were you in the mind state of competing at the National Olympic level, or was it just like?
I was not that good.
Okay.
No. Yeah.
Okay.
And then I think especially after this injury, I was not that
Not
good.
that good.
Yeah.
All right. So then, when does writing as a serious endeavor enter your life?
In like my early 20s. Yeah.
Okay. So what happens between ice skating? I mean, figure skating. The vertebrae injury. The return, and then you just stopped. Like, did you like just stop?
Yeah, I just like
You
stopped.
was just like, all right, I'm doing.
Oh, well, my brother was kind of like having health problems and stuff, and I
Oh,
didn't
okay.
have anybody to drive me to the rink, and I didn't have a license yet. So.
So it's like,
yeah.
all right, so this is done.
Yeah.
So then, what did you do in that layover, that sort of empty that space between figure skating and writing? What was Tracy O'Neill's life like?
So, well, obviously college. I went to college, and
What
then
college you went to?
Connecticut College, where Sean Spicer also went.
Damn.
I know. I know. Our most infamous alum.
What was your field of study? Your major at the time?
History.
Really?
Yeah.
And what was it about history at the time why history?
I think that I just liked stories.
Oh, right.
You know.
That's a great prerequisite for being a writer.
Yeah.
So then, okay, you go to college.
So I went to college, and then I graduated, and I moved to the city, and I didn't really know what I was doing at all. And I like had come with like a suitcase and like $600. Like I just like didn't understand anything. And
What year was this? You came with $600.
this was 2007.
I think gentrification was probably swinging at that time. Where did you live?
So I got this really tiny little room in Bushwick, and I lived with like 5
Okay,
people.
this makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the building had horrible bed bugs.
Oh yeah, you getting what you pay for at this point.
Yeah, exactly. I think my rent was like $500. So, and that's why I lived there. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is all getting clear now. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I had like a bunch of bar jobs at first, like really, really bad ones for the most part. Like I worked at this place. It was called Dino's Party House.
Okay. This sounds dark.
It was so dark because let me tell you something. This girl who I worked with just went missing after a shift. Like the cops came by. Like I don't even know if they ever found her. So anyway, then I stopped working there.
No, that's not a good look.
Yeah.
All right, so then you go from Dino's.
Oh yeah, I don't know. I had so many jobs. It's ridiculous. I can't even remember them all. But
Right.
yeah, but at one point I was working at Webster Hall, and there was this reading that was set up there through the Strand Bookstore. It was going to be their first off-site event.
Okay.
And it was like Chuck Palahniuk and Amy Hempel.
Damn.
And I didn't know who Amy Hempel was. I knew who Chuck Palahniuk was.
He wrote Fight Club,
Right.
amongst other things, but Fight Club is.
Right. I think he's written like 25 books.
Oh, he's written a lot. Yeah.
He's like this. But yeah, so I was like, who's this Amy Hempel person? And I went to the bookstore, and I read her collected short fiction over the course of, I don't know, like 3 days or something. And I was kind of like just in awe. And then I started writing really seriously.
Okay, so you did this. You were a bottle girl at this time? Or
Yeah.
were you? So you used to come carry out the sparklers.
Yeah.
And do the thing.
Yeah.
Now, how often did people try to buy out the bar?
Not that often because, you know, it was like Webster Hall.
No ballers at Webster Hall.
Well, I'm sure that a lot of people probably spoke about wanting to buy out the bar, or that they were considering buying out the bar,
But it
but
never-
yeah, it didn't happen when
okay.
I was working there.
That's usually how it goes. I remember I was in a party in college. I went to Pace University for undergrad, and we had a fraternity party. And I don't know what it is about club environments, but it does tempt you to spend money. Like I had just got my tap refund. It's like $2,500 you get from the city or whatever. and I was feeling myself. And I think like Drake's Crew Love came on, and I was just like, I'm about to risk it all, and I'm about to get a bottle, and I wanted to do that.
Oh no!
And then I looked at the price of one bottle, it was like $300. I was like, nah, you know what? You can take this back, and you can keep this. So yeah, like I definitely know like that club culture definitely that will get you to fuck your pockets up.
Well, it would have been different, obviously, if you had some Marduce.
Oh, yeah.
In that case, you would have totally bought it.
So let me explain why I'm so adamant about
Marduce.
Yeah, and we're gonna transition. We're gonna talk more about the writing in a minute. But so the reason, and this is, it all connects. So when I did not like drinking for a long time simply because I had seen so many people get drunk and like just make an ass out of themselves, and I was like, that's just never gonna be me. And then it evolved into like when I went to Pace, a lot of times I'd be around drunk white people, and drunk white people say some like real fucked up racist shit.
Oh no!
When they get drunk, and so I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna be around. I can't drink with white people because it's like they drink around you, then they start saying mad wild shit, and it's like, see, when you wake up sober, I don't want to be in jail because you said something wrong to me. So I just kind of remove myself from those situations. And I would like always drink in the crib because it's like if I get drunk, like it's that Eddie Murphy joke that he tells about his father. It's like, it's my house. I get drunk. I'm in my house. Like I could pass out. I'm in my bed. But the worst thing is like I didn't have like, phone replacement money where like a lot of my friends losing their phones, their keys. They would wake up in places they didn't even know where they wake up. And they always made it home safe. I was just like, nah, it's too dangerous. But when I would go to like a lot of literary events, and even now you go to literary events and there's always wine. And I'm like, do you have something more sweet that's not like wine? Because wine to me dries my mouth. So I was like, man, like if I ever started, some sort of literary thing, I would always just have Martinelli's there. Because I remember Martinelli's being a drink, New Year's. It was the only thing I was allowed to drink that felt celebratory. Like people would have the real champagne and they would give me the Martinelli's bottles. And it was just like, I got to feel like a rapper. That was mainly where it came from. I would do like Damon Dash dances where I would like dance with the Martinelli's bottles and like
you were spraying.
Yeah, it was $3.50. It was $3.50. You like you feel like a bowler for like not paying the price of a bowler. And so like the Martinelli's experience has always stayed with me. And so like even now with the apple juice, it was like it's just a great apple juice. And then to me it's like a democratic drink. Like I don't know a person who doesn't like apple juice. So I always try to bring it in. But what happened was my birthday. Me and my little sister have the same birthday. She's 6 years younger than me. She drinks Hennessy, and she brought I had the Martinelli's, and we traded bottles. I gave her a bottle of Martinelli. She gave me a bottle of Hennessy, and I was like, I don't really like cognac because it's just too fucking strong, and it's like not sweet at all. So she was like, well, let's mix it together. And so we mixed it together. And I was like, oh shit, this cognac apple juice shit tastes pretty good. Then I was like, let me try this with Douce, and then. That's how the drink was born. So it was like I know like with culture is like the writer. I don't know nobody that drinks more than writers. I feel like liquor is to writers what marijuana is to rappers. Like I feel like that's the culture.
Right.
Like even the fact that they have that line like what is it? Write drunk, edit sober.
What?
That's a thing. Like if you go on Strand, there's like a one of those like refrigerator magnets that you could buy for your house.
I don't mess around like that.
Oh no, you write. Sober?
Oh, yeah. I am 100% dead sober.
And then you edit sober?
Oh, yeah.
Rare.
No, then I'm really drunk now.
Okay.
No, I'm sober the whole time.
Okay. So, now, boom. You at the event with Amy Hempel and Chuck.
Oh, well, so actually, I should back up here. This is the thing, right? So Amy Hempel didn't actually come to the event.
Oh.
I don't know. She was like a last minute cancellation, but I read the book.
Okay.
In preparation for the, just this event happening, and I was like, this is great. And then, I started trying to figure out like, why are these sentences so good?
Right. And to you, if you can explain an Amy Hempel sentence, what to you makes an Amy Hempel sentence so good?
How many hours have we got?
I mean, we got time.
Yeah, it definitely depends on the sentence itself, but she has a really amazing way of actually the space between sentences.
Okay.
So I would say that there are a lot of times where you feel really surprised about like the consecution of sentences. You get to a sentence after one you've just read and you think like, oh, and you see that there's a connection there, but there's also something that's a little bit jarring and strange about it.
Okay.
And it makes you pay attention. And yeah, I just love kind of everything she writes.
Man, that's
Yeah.
it. So, how would you, describing Amy Hempel sentences, how would you describe your own?
Oh,
Like, teach somebody. Like, if I'm reading Tracy, if I'm reading you for the first time, how do I know I'm reading you? What are some of the things that tells me I'm reading?
yeah. I think a lot of times there's like a little bit of like a weird syntax. So sometimes
Okay.
like what you think normally would go at the end of a sentence will be at the beginning of a sentence.
Okay.
I think I do that a lot. I think that there's a lot of repetition of sounds.
Yeah.
And like just if you're like not necessarily on the sentence level, but like just if you're reading my work, there's probably like some treatment of obsession.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And
I feel like I'm always writing about obsession.
And I think that comes through, and like that sort of, I don't know what type, I don't know how to describe the way those sentences are, but they're like, they work on two levels. They work on like the very explicit, direct level of what's going on in front of it, but it also speaks to something more, like that sort of particular universal sentence of like when you have, and I'm gonna grab the book for a minute because I have so many things. This is my book actually. The like just so many moments where you just have like these great like lines that this like two negatives equal a positive until you bring in the brain, or what is it? In deeds I trust, its thoughts I don't. Is I'd vow for better or worse, and I took the worst because it was the only way to get better. Like it's just all these lines that like if you were a rapper, you would be like all over people's captions. Like that's like you just have those. You know what it is? You have quotables. You have a lot of quotables.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, like in your writing, because they're like these snapshots that like they lend themselves to the universal, but like in context, they're very particular.
I think that was the nicest compliment anybody ever gave me about my writing, Yahdon.
Well, thank you. You know, we you know that's so one of the reasons why I asked you to do that is because like the whole purpose of this show, right, and backing up and going forward at the same time, is the whole idea of like watching like Breakfast Clubs, Sway in the Mornings, all these types of shows that have a sort of platform for artists to translate their work to a broader audience. Because sometimes when you're with the work alone, you can do the thing of debating with your friends about, oh, this line means this or this person's saying that, but it's nothing, I think, more valuable than when you have a writer kind of telling you how their work moves and things
Right.
like that. So for me, it's like I often read books and pieces by writers as like little like it's like a clue, like a murder mystery, and especially when writers body, like when they kill a piece, I definitely kind of want to investigate it, like and then when you have the writer there, it's like having like, did you do it? Like, did you do what I think you did? And so
Right.
it's just always good to be able to talk to writers and see if like a writer, if you saw what the writer was doing. And I think in one thing you had posted a picture of somebody, I think wrote something about your book, and you was like, it's always great when a reader knows what you're doing.
Yeah.
How could you explain that feeling? Because I feel like more times than not, it's hard for writers to even find people who read their books, and even harder to find a person who actually knows what you aim to do.
Yeah. Well, I think if I'm thinking of the same thing, and I think it was somebody like at a bookstore.
Yeah, probably.
Like writing up like a little description
Yeah,
of
yeah,
something.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I feel like this person was able to sort of talk about the book in a way where it wasn't just talking about the literal plot. And like, of course, the plot itself is important. But I think that this person understood that it was also about how obsession is dark, but it's also beautiful,
Yeah.
and that it's also about a young woman, and that her sense of her body being dismissed, which I think is frequently true in our culture, that women's bodies are dismissed as unimportant, or what they do with their bodies is unimportant, save for like reproduction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so expanding that idea. Like I was actually talking to my friend Clarence on our way over here about like how I started actually reading more. And the book is here, I think. This book, don't want to fuck up the frame, but don't do it. So like this is one of my favorite books, right? Like this is Hilton Hall's The Women, and it's like 140-page critical memoir about Hilton Hall's not knowing who his mother was until the day she died. And so like it started like I read this I went to the MFA program at the New School, so like a few years ago, and like the first sentence is, until the end, my mother never discussed her way of being. She avoided explaining the impetus behind her immigration from Barbados to Manhattan. She avoided explaining that she had not been motivated by the same desire for personal gain and opportunity that drove most female immigrants. And like it started with all the things she did not tell.
I see.
Yeah. So it started with like all these things she did not tell him. And so what he basically is like, he didn't realize, like he was at her funeral and he's crying. And part of it is like, wait, who am I really crying for? Am I crying for the mother that I had, or this woman I never knew?
Right. And probably both.
But,
or
yeah.
maybe it's the same thing.
Right.
In a way.
Yeah.
But my question is, why are there white people on the cover?
You cannot, man, listen.
Who, like, are they connected to the story? Are these real people he knows or something?
I don't know. I think when it comes to literature, it's always a thing of like markets and who they want to sell to.
But he did say, right, that she immigrated from Barbados.
Yeah. And what's funny is the softcover book, which is always interesting. The softcover book, and I don't have the softcover with me, actually has him on it, his mother, Dorothy Dean, who's was a black socialite in the 50s and 60s, and Owen Dotson, who was one of his mentors. And the softcover, there was that, aesthetic of blackness, but I think a lot of times with literature, if you look at a lot of book covers, they don't want to color things too much for markets.
Right.
Because they want like, the middle American to be able to buy the book. And from when you started taking writing seriously, did you go to an MFA program?
I did, yeah.
What MFA program did you go to?
City College of New York.
Okay. Because when I got to the MFA program, and a lot of those workshops, I write essays about like growing up in Bed-Stuy and navigating like, being poor and black, or American poor and black, or whatever, and identity and all these things. And a lot of times I would watch my essays and workshops get turned into ethnographies, meaning like explain this thing as opposed to just like, okay, like this is what's happening. Let me try to figure out. It's like, I don't get it. Explain it to me. And so there, like what I realized early in literature is like there's this sort of asking of writers of color or minority writers or whatever you want to call them, like, can you make me understand what I don't understand? As opposed to like, if you don't understand it, maybe you should do some of that work.
Yeah, and I think that that's a really interesting point, just about the points of privilege and who gets to be sort of, who is required to make themselves legible, and what is sort of considered already legible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's, to me, like that's like what the like book covers really communicate. Like I had this idea to do this thing one day. Like I would want to go into a bookstore where you get all these book covers that suggest this, like, for lack of a better word, diversity, because the covers look so different, but then like put the writers on the cover so that people can really see like how white the literary world is.
Yeah.
Because I think when you have like all these different types of covers and the writer's pictures on the back, if you get the writer's picture, then people will get like, people think it looks diverse because you have like, blue covers and yellow covers and green covers and all these covers, and it's like, oh, like there's a lot of different books, but when you open a lot of them up, it's like it's the same thing.
Right.
And so I think about a book like this. This book came out in 1996, and the only reason why I even got this book was because MFA program, ironically, it was like a literary seminar class, and we would learn about like essays, like mixed genre work. So like we read Citizen by Claudia Rankine. We did Sheila Heti's I don't know the title, but it was a Sheila Heti book, and we did White Girls. And I remember reading the first bouncing around in the essay collection, and I was like, this dude is brilliant. And so I read the first. I went back, I got this book, and I went to get the women, and I was just like, this book is just so foundational to me, to my understanding of women now. And I'm like, damn, like, why don't more people know about it? And I think that that's always the crime about great books, is that more people don't know they exist.
Yeah.
And so my thing was, all right, how do I get people to know that this book exists? And it was like, there are essays in there that overtly talk about like the ways in which black women are ignored. And he's like the Hilton Hall's like, he's a gay black male writer. And like none of that is apparent visually. And like how many people sort of look at this book at the, just look at it and go, oh, that's a white book. And they like completely just walk past it. And so like I do agree with you that like a lot of times like they say don't judge a book by its cover, but it's like that's what else do you have often to judge a book on besides solely its cover. On the subject of covers, who came up with your cover for the book? What was the
I guess that my publisher did, or I think they hired somebody who came up with a bunch of different designs.
Did you get to pick that one or?
We don't talk about that.
Okay. Okay. So I know recently you became the editor-in-chief at Epiphany Magazine.
Yes.
So tell us about what Epiphany Mag is and how'd you get that job?
So it's a semi-annual literary journal.
Okay, we got it right. Oh, yes. It's propped up.
Yeah.
We gonna need that for the filming, sir. It's the first episode. Bear with us.
Okay. So this right here.
Yeah.
So it's semi-annual, so twice a year.
Okay.
And one issue a year is the normal issue, and then one issue is the contest issue. So there will be prizes in fiction, poetry, nonfiction, and then some rotating cast of like special genre.
Okay.
So like graphic literature or work in translation, something like that. And I mean, going forward, I think it's going to be a little bit different because I want to bring a lot more of the work online.
Okay.
I still want us to have the print journal. I still love print. I love receiving a magazine. I love holding one. But I want us to be sharing this work online as well and have it be not just something where readers are in contact with us twice a year, but on a weekly basis. So when I took over this role recently, I wrote like a little letter to readers. And so in part of it, I sort of described what I think the mission of Epiphany is and sort of how I see it continuing. So what I wrote was, the mission of Epiphany has always been to make visible the revelatory, particularly writing that ruptures and broadens notions of what literature is, what it can do. So I'm looking at like risk-taking writing.
Okay.
Looking toward the future, we're excited to continue discovering and sharing the epiphanic. Think renegade sentences, illumination at the margins, rhythm-driven narrative, queering gesture, eureka probing, decolonized swagger, limbing mystery, intersectional aesthetics, boundary-popping prose, and other poetics.
Okay.
And then it goes on. But anyway, that's what I think
like,
our magazine
I like
is
that.
about.
Talk to me more about this what you got here, this decolonized swagger. Talk. I like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that I feel like maybe there's a little decolonized swagger in this room.
Oh yeah, no, it's all decolonized swag.
Yeah.
In this room. But how would you describe that language? Like when you say decolonized swagger, what are you looking for?
So, I mean, I'm looking for really sort of energetic, bold work, and I'm looking for the work to be not reproducing, certain conventions, certain inequalities.
Like what already exists.
Yeah, exactly. And, I think that this is also a way of sort of reaching out to communities that understand that we do live in a world that is sort of trying to recover from various forms of imperialism.
Yeah.
So I think if that's in your brain somewhere, that might register that like you could be the kind of person who should be submitting to the magazine.
Okay. So
Yeah.
explain, because even I don't necessarily know what is the duties of an editor in chief.
I am finding out.
You find out? Okay. But like,
No,
at least on the paper when they.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
That was kidding.
Okay.
Yeah. I was half kidding. Yeah. So it's about finding new work.
Okay.
Some of it is reading some of the slush. Some of it is reaching out and soliciting work, trying to get writers that I already really appreciate and. To contribute. It's sort of like defining what the aesthetic of the magazine is going to be.
Okay.
It has turned out to also be some fundraising. So if you would like to donate, you can
Okay.
go to epiphanyzine.com.
All right. Cool.
And there's a donate button right at the top.
Dope plug.
Yes.
You gotta use all your.
Wasn't
all
that
your
subtle?
avenues. It's good. It's
Yeah.
good. That's what we got this for. That's why it's lit. That's
Yeah.
why it's lit.
Yeah. But yeah, and like creating events, bringing the community together. I think that like it's really underestimated how much readings can do for emerging writers.
Yeah.
For more established writers, I'm not sure really what readings do,
Right.
to be honest. But I know that when I was just starting out, I had one story published, and the editor who had published it, Don Raffel, invited me to do a reading, and I didn't know any writers at the time.
Right.
So for me to do this event was really huge, like getting to talk to real writers and, like talk to people who had my interests. So, otherwise I would have been probably just sitting in a room writing away and reading.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think some of that work is community building.
And a lot of it, I think a lot of that is also underestimated of, like, in the MFA program. Like, there was so much emphasis on sentences and structure and all these things that, like, yeah, this is a main part of the work, but I always felt like that work was always going to be done if you were a writer regardless, right? Like, you were always going to be, that's going to be your lifelong duty, is to fix your sentences and what you bring to the page. But I think a lot of what gets underemphasized is the community that supports what's on the page, because you get so much, spend so much time working on your writing, and then when it's time to get published, there's this assumption that good work will find its way through the slush pile, which is sometimes, but it's like, how long do you have to wait? How long does somebody have to wait for that? Because I've literally watched how, like, one conversation with somebody was the difference between something sitting there for however long to it getting published, like, within that same week.
Wow.
And then, like, I talk to a lot of my friends, and I'm a big advocate for community building. And, like, even, like, how we met was at the 535 event.
Probably,
And it was, I think, you and I think Angela Florno on that same in that same year. It was at Powerhouse Arena.
Yeah.
And what's interesting about the literary world, which a lot of people don't know if you're not in the literary world, it's the same people, right? So it's like it's both a high and low barrier of entry, meaning, like, few people, like, inhabit the space, but if you inhabit the space enough, like, people start to notice you. Like, if they see you at 3-4 events, they're like, oh, who is this person I keep seeing? But it's like, it's usually the same 100 people on rotation at these events.
Right, that's true.
So it's one of those things where it's like, if you commit yourself to wanting to be a part of the community, you can be a part of it, but there's, like, also, like, so many reasons why people probably don't, because it's like, it's overtly white, and it lacks, a lot of times, like, that aesthetic that makes people who aren't white feel comfortable. And it's like, I will speak for myself personally, of, like, a lot of the reasons, like, even why I created this show, and, like, how we met was, like, do literary swag interviews.
Yeah.
Was like, I wanted to create a space where I felt comfortable. Like, I come from Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn. I grew up, you walk around with your book, people smack your books out your hand. Like, books was never cool. And so, my literary canons was stand-up comedy, like Eddie Murphy, Dave Chappelle's, Kendrick Lamar, Biggie's. So when you get in a room and people are like, yeah, they've been reading since they was like 4 or 5, and you're like, I don't fit necessarily with these people, but it's like, in the ways that they're not my people, they also are, because they are dedicated to this thing we call literature. So it's like, I'm a part of both worlds, and how do you marry the worlds you're a part of, right? And I think that that's what this book, The Hopeful, is about too. Is it's about this thing, which he says in the end of like, I could do like when the therapist, therapist,
Yep.
okay, because I always get confused between therapist, psychologist, psychiatry. Like I don't know like how that works, but she gave her this ultimatum of like, if you're fine, if I'm going to treat you like you're fine, I'm saying you're normal. But what you're saying is that you kind of never been normal, but you kind of want to still be treated as you were normal, meaning like you want to continue to try to live your life. And so like this book to me is a constant reconciliation between the mind and the body. Like how do you unite those things? It's a literary swag, I've always explained is like, how do I sort of reconcile that love for where I'm from and also this love of what I'm a part of, even though these two worlds seem to be at odds with one another. It's like, how do I show that these things it can reside in the same body?
Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, I mean, I feel like in a way, like what you brought up with the book is that, like the character is really obsessed with not being normal. Like in a way, wants to be sort of special and extraordinary. And on the other hand, I think wants a sense of belonging. I think most people do. So I guess what you're doing is you're just setting up a space for yourself first and other people to sort of, sift in. Right.
So on the subject now that we out here, we got to talk about this outfit. We need to talk about how swaggy it is. How swaggy you are. Like,
thank you.
Where did your style? We got to talk about the swag. Where'd you get it from? How does one develop swag like this in New Hampshire? No shots to New Hampshire. I just don't think there's that many fly people in that state.
Well, I will tell you something.
Okay.
On the license plate, it says "Live Free or Die."
Okay.
So, I guess I was just living free.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think probably figure skating, on the one hand, it's like figure skating is really sort of...
flashy.
Yeah, it's flashy and, there's like an aesthetic component.
Yeah.
Certainly, although like a lot of it is, a little bit gaudy.
I was definitely trying to get. I text you. I was trying to get that a Blaze of Glory fit for the shoot. Did not happen in time.
Yeah.
Did not have the money. Next time you come on. By the time you have something.
How about next time we go out, like next literary event?
We gotta. I gotta do it big though. I'm trying to get a Prince-like fit. I'm trying to come through.
Oh yeah, maybe like, Halloween.
We will talk about that.
Okay.
We'll talk about that. But all right, so like, figure skating is sort of the foundation to it.
I just totally made that up. I have no idea where it comes from. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. That's just...
So I'm gonna be honest, right? I'm gonna tell you.
Yeah.
And I might get in trouble for this.
Okay.
I don't give a fuck. But
get in trouble.
I've said this numerous times. I went to Pace University, business school. I swear, I feel like there is the flyest group of people on this earth for Asian women. Again,
at Pace.
No, period.
Oh.
Like hands
like
down,
in the world.
like across the board, Asian women are like it's because you know what it is? It's a mix of like the type of shit. Like I seen an Asian woman wear like a heel that was like made out of like a triangle block. Like it's like it's not even just the brands. It's like the shit that I just like who, and the way it gets thrown together. It's just like what?
Yeah.
And then it's like I've never seen because the Asian women in my school would travel together. So it would be like 20 Asian girls and they would all be fly.
Right.
Like now in high school, and Clarence knows this because we went to high school, like if it was 10 of us, it'd be like 4 would be fly and then like 6 would be like in the middle. Like somebody would have like an Ed Hardy shirt, which was like real big in like 2006, 2007. Somebody would have the Levi's, somebody would have the Maury's, but it wouldn't be 20 people dressed like that. But like Asian women, and like I said, I get people go, oh, why it can't be just all women? Like it's like women are fly. I feel like you know what, and this is a great thing to the book. I feel like women 9 times out of 10 are better dressers. That's what a lot of my fashion influences come from women. Because as a dude, I could wear this every day, and this could be my uniform. Like women that I grew up with, I had a mother and a sister who literally didn't go to the store without their hair done. Like they got fully dressed to go across the street.
Oh yeah.
So I feel like that expectation on women's bodies to always reinvent themselves so they don't feel old creates this necessity to be fly.
Right.
But definitely to me with Asian women, like I said, it's just some of the pieces that I've seen. It's just like, I don't know who they have access to. Y'all collectively have access to who y'all know, but it's just like, I got to hang out with an Asian. I got to like hang out and go undercover and like figure out where y'all getting y'all clothes from. Cause it's just,
Well,
it's ridiculous.
you know, to be totally honest, probably like 5 days out of the week, I'm just like in a white t-shirt. Well, lately.
Okay.
So here's the thing. So I got really superstitious.
Okay.
And I've been revising a novel. And I don't know where I got this idea. But I started believing that I needed to just wear the same thing every day so that I wouldn't like have some sort of like visual distraction or like extraneous choice or something that I needed to make during the day. You know, it's like, I think I felt like, oh, I'm making so many decisions about my book, like every sentence, what it's going to be like. I just can't make any more choices. I'm just going to wear like a white t-shirt every day and like eat toast. I mean, I didn't stick to the toast thing. Like,
Okay.
I have to eat my pizza. But yeah.
You're not eating toast.
Yeah. But, so it depends.
Yeah. Cause I still remember, some fits, like you got some classic fits in my brain. I'm thinking about like when we did the literary swag video a few years ago, you had this like cheetah print jacket.
Oh my God! Don't even bring that jacket up. I'm so bummed out. I lost that jacket.
You lost a
last
jacket.
year.
How'd you lose a whole jacket?
Well, I was probably drunk.
See, that's exactly why I don't drink when I'm outside.
You might lose a good jacket.
How much
I know.
drinks like what? How much did you have to drink to lose a whole jacket off your back? Was this the jacket? Like this wasn't your only jacket that you had that day, right?
No, it was
Okay.
the winter, so it was like I had like 5 jackets on, you know, because you're
Oh,
like
okay.
layering,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
And so
It's still pretty crazy.
yeah, and it's like it's that bar near here
Yeah.
on Graham or bar.
Okay. I don't know the bars
yeah.
over here at all.
I've like called and tried to ask about it.
Nah, someone stole that jacket.
No.
That's someone's wearing that.
That was a good jacket.
That was a
so
good jacket,
Somebody
but I
got
remember
very lucky that day.
You had the pattern clashes. You had that. You had the red and black lumberjack on.
Yeah.
And I was just like, look, see, just perpetuating the legend. Fly Asian women. Like that's just a consistent narrative. So we want to do a lit cam.
Okay.
Could you
what's
stand
that?
up? So basically, what it is,
Okay.
we need the cameras to kind of catch it, but stand up with the
Okay.
fit.
All right.
Walk us
Well,
through this fit, this fly fit. Like, what are we
Okay.
looking at here?
Like what am I wearing?
Yeah. Break it down. Break down the fit for us.
Okay. Well.
Okay.
Oh my God.
It's cool. It's cool. We breaking it in.
Okay.
You want me to do it first? So
Yeah, you do. Let me give me
all
an
right.
example.
All right.
Give
So
me an
yeah.
example.
So basically, this is a a clean white and black fit. So this is an original heist shirt. My little sisters made this brand. They got the little you might not see it, the ski mask on the back because they get there's the fast way, the ski mask way. So it's heisting. They're trying to bring this verb out that heisting is when you do what you got to do to get what you get. Then I got my Malcolm X fitted. One of my favorite movies. My literary swag enamel pin, but it's black and white. Then I got these Crimson Cross jeans on with these, classic fours. You got the fours? So like it's a, this is a lit fit. This is white and black. It's clean. It's raining outside.
Yeah.
So that's
See, I was gonna wear my white T-shirt, but it was raining outside.
yeah. So now that's basically what it is.
Yeah.
You ain't gotta put your feet on the table.
Okay. Yeah.
But
All
yeah,
right.
just walk us through your fit.
Okay. So I have on
Okay.
an earring,
All right.
but only one of this earring.
That's a fishbone. That's fly.
I think it's like I think it's something kind of fishy.
Okay.
But then on the other ear I have like a stud.
All right.
I don't want to wear 2 of these at once. It's too much.
You don't want to do too much.
No, not too
Okay.
much. Okay. And then I'm wearing a cropped shirt from Join Life, which is Zara's like eco brand.
Okay.
Because I'm trying to be more eco-friendly.
Yeah.
And then I have on this gold crepey skirt. And then I have on some Doc Marten boots.
Those are Doc Martens?
Oh, yeah.
That's a nice Doc Marten boot.
Oh, well, thank you.
I would have never known those were Doc Martens.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I feel like people do not give writers like a lot of credit on how fly we can be, and how fly, we tend to be. So let's get into some fun parts.
All right. Hit me with some fun.
Some fun parts. 3. Who do you think 3 swaggiest writers you know?
Oh, you did not tell me you were going to ask this question.
I know. Come on, you got to make some of it live. It can't be all pre.
Oh, no. You're killing me over here. All right. Okay. So I think Mitch Jackson always brings it.
Oh yeah, Mitch.
We know that.
Yeah,
We
Mitch
know that.
is always bringing the yeah.
Yeah. My friend Amy Gall. Do you know Amy?
I do not.
Okay. She's got a great hat collection, let me tell you
Wait, did
something.
she work for the National Book Foundation?
She used to.
Yeah. Now
Yeah.
her hat game is on. She got Cole from Martin hat game. She's always with the hats.
Amazing hats. Also, really good T-shirts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now I got to pay attention more to the T-shirt game now.
Oh, yeah, I know. Well, you're just going to be on her Instagram.
Yeah. Now I'm going to. One more person.
Yeah, and I'm going to say this. Mr. Ben Samuel has some excellent tie clip action.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now for me,
tell me.
I'm gonna definitely put you in the pantheon.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Chimamanda.
Oh, yeah.
She
Totally.
with the Nigerian. She just wears all Nigerian clothes and she just be shitting on them.
Mm-hmm.
I would Mitch is up there, but I gotta say Zadie because Zadie went to the Met Gala. I feel like Met Gala when you Met Gala fly, I feel like that's that's astronomical. It's an astronomical fly. Let's bracket it up, even more fun. Music. Who does Tracy O'Neill listen to? Do you listen to music when you write, or you like?
I never ever listen to music when I write. No.
You dumb out.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Sometimes I'll take a walk to try to like clear my brain a little bit for writing, and then I'll listen to music. So earlier we were talking about "Damn," the Kendrick album.
Yeah,
Of course,
yeah.
it's amazing. Like that's like default. Everybody feels this way.
You got some haters.
I have some. Who?
You got haters.
Oh well, we'll have to talk. Okay, I'm gonna make a confession, which
Okay.
is that I sometimes like to listen to really bad EDM.
Okay.
So, if I'm tired, no, I'm serious. So this is the context. If I'm really tired and I have to go to a literary event, and I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna have to sit through a reading, which can sometimes kind of suck the energy out of you because you're just sitting there.
Yeah.
On the way there, I will listen to EDM.
Bad EDM though. What's
Mostly-
good EDM? I'm not taking no shots. I don't listen to
Yeah.
EDM. So I don't.
Actually, okay. So here's what I think is pretty good. There's this duo, Designer Drugs. I don't even know if they're still around
thing.
and doing stuff, but they have all of these mixes and they use a lot of zombie noises and whatever. They have a really good Mariah Carey mix.
Okay.
They have a really good version of Enjoy the Silence. Anyway,
Okay.
I will hook you up.
Okay. Put me on to the EDM.
Yeah, I will. Yeah.
So the damn.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, we can keep going. Okay. Obviously Rihanna. Everybody loves Rihanna.
Okay.
But I'm going to shout out specific Rihanna. Okay, so specific Rihanna. Yes, Higher and Love on the Brain. Great ballads. They're so good.
Now, okay, this is the thing
what?
I gotta say
What?
about Higher.
What?
Okay, I feel like I realized that Rihanna was a superstar when I realized her fans did not care about the fact that she can't sing.
No, I think Rihanna can sing.
I love Rihanna.
She's also a good storyteller in some of her songs.
No,
Not that
her
she's-
songs are her songs are bar none. They're dope.
Yeah.
But those notes in Higher, come on now, come on. She was reaching them notes.
Yeah, but I think that's part of what makes it good actually is that it's not super smooth. So you get that sort of pained feel.
I got pain.
That
feels.
sort of.
Listen to this.
Oh no! Rihanna's gonna come after you.
Yeah, I mean, no, I didn't see. Fuck. Listen, hey, it's what it is. I love her music, and I think her music is dope. But to me, I feel like I realized how immovable Rihanna is in culture. When my sister is my younger sister is a big fan of her, and I was like, Rihanna can't sing, right? And she was like, okay, she was just unmoved by that. That's like telling a kid his favorite rapper can't rap, and they're like, I don't listen. She was like, I engage with Rihanna on more than one level than
Right.
everyone doesn't have to be like Beyonce or Aretha Franklin for you to like them, which was not something I was just trolling her or whatever. But
Right. But I also feel like range is always used as the benchmark of a good singer, and maybe Rihanna doesn't have amazing range, but I think that what she gives the notes is totally worth it.
okay,
Yeah, I feel like it's qualitative.
I did like her on Loyalty though. I like the way Kendrick
Yeah.
used on Loyalty. What's your favorite tracks on Dan?
Okay, so I think element. Love is really good. I think Love is a good summer night song.
Okay.
You know, like during sunset, like you're
Rosé.
chilling. Yeah, you're having some rosé, or like, you know, maybe some iced tea if you're gonna do some writing. Yeah. I mean, the whole album is really good. DNA.
Yeah.
DNA is really good.
My when I first started listening to it, I think the song that I was listening to the most at first was
Duckworth.
Nah, it
No.
wasn't. It wasn't. It wasn't. Duckworth was crazy though.
Yeah.
The first song that I was listening to a lot was Feel.
Yeah.
Because to me it sounded like a dope writing prompt. And I was just like, the way he just kept building on I feel. But then Fear, to me,
That's a heartbreaking song.
it's a heartbreaking song, but you know what
Yeah.
it reminded me of? It reminded me of I don't know if you ever read Richard Wright's Native Son.
No.
But it's one of the, like, you know, big literary canons, and like
I know, I'm a little bit embarrassed.
No, don't do that. Don't do that. This is what this is for. You gotta.
Yeah.
There's a lot of books I haven't read. I'll be
Yeah.
honest. I ain't read Chekhov ever.
There you go.
So, and it's a whole lot more names I ain't read. But the whole premise of Native Son is that it's this black boy, Bigger Thomas, who lives in Chicago.
Yeah.
And the whole book is, the main word that comes up in that book is taught, T-A-U-T, if I'm saying it correctly. And his body is taught with fear. Like, he's like, he's got this fear that's so, like, sort of, what's the word? Like, and he internalizes fear so much he doesn't do anything until, like, he, like, mistakenly kills this white girl that he drives for.
Yeah.
In his rich family. And when I listen to that Kendrick got like that song, and it's just like, it's not even like, what I loved about that album is not so much that the words, what he does with the words, but what he does with each song is literally its own sentence, right? And that's why you have like every song ending with a period. Like, it's its own sort of statement. And like the way the song sounds, it sounds like a sad song. Like, you know, like the first verse, I beat your ass. If you do this, I beat your ass. And then the next one is like, I probably die going here. And then, so it's like, how does fear sort of turn you into like this person who's afraid of everything, to the point where you don't even know what you're afraid of anymore, but you react to the fear as opposed to like knowing what you're afraid of. You're just afraid of everything.
Yeah.
And I think that that song, I think it communicates a lot of how, I don't know if you've seen
Get Out.
Yes, we're gonna talk about that.
Okay.
But the Jay-Z 444, he has footnotes for the Astoria OJ song, and Mahershala Ali was talking about when like black men go into the world, they have to play defense, meaning like, you know, like white men go into the world, they can go, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, and do that, and like black men have to kind of like let the world come at them and decide what they'll take from it. And I think in the same ways, like what fear does is it doesn't allow you to go out beyond yourself. Right? Like you have to sort of allow, like, you have to hope that a situation comes your way that's good for you.
Right.
But you won't go and make the best situation because you're too afraid to. And so to me, it was like how like this dude is one of the biggest stars, but he still navigates that fear every day. And I'm like, it's very interesting to know that a guy that like has that much influence.
Right.
Like, it's not to say that he shouldn't or he doesn't, but it's just interesting to see that he's finding some way to like even bring language to the fear is an admirable thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that like a lot of it is about your identity being really wrapped up in being aware of how people see you to some extent.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm sure that sort of one of the things that he's talking about is sort of like channeling like receptivity versus like aggression.
Yeah.
Or, you know, and yeah, it's really amazing that we're still having to have this conversation in 2017.
Yeah. I mean, do you think this conversation going anywhere? I don't think it's going anywhere.
Oh, no. I mean, we might have actually gone back.
Yeah. We going back.
Yeah.
Speaking of going back, that Get Out. What was your...
Oh, yeah. I loved Get Out.
Yeah.
I did. And, you know, so that Zadie Smith essay came out in Harper's. And, you know, as much as I love Zadie Smith, I was reading it sort of in disbelief.
Right.
Half of the time.
Well, bring some people up to speed.
Okay.
About what the essay was about. I read it, but
Yeah. So essentially, it's about cultural appropriation, and I think that she was trying to defend the freedom to create, which I totally get behind. But I think that what she ignored is that there is a huge difference between cultural appropriation that happens between people who might have more cultural capital or privilege in the first place, taking from people who don't have as much cultural capital or as much privilege, and especially like white people taking from black culture. And I feel like she uses her own family as a way to sort of draw out some of the complexities, which I totally understand. And she talks about both of her children being biracial.
That was a weird argument.
Right.
Because it was like a reach of an argument, because the logic she based it on, okay, Hannah Black, which was the woman. So for people who don't know, there's a piece that was at the Whitney Biennial.
Yeah.
That was it was a portrait of Emmett Till that this white woman painted. It was a bad painting to me. And Hannah Black is a mixed black woman who wrote this piece that was like, the Whitney Biennial should get rid of it. They should burn it. It should not. It shouldn't be allowed. It shouldn't be allowed to be sold, make money, or anything like that. And so it built this this big controversy with, like, a lot of people were sort of like blocking its view or whatever. And Zadie Smith had made the argument that, like, doing all that took away from other black works that were in the piece. I mean, in the collection or in the show. But what it also did was, when she made the argument that, all right, well, Hannah Black is mixed. How does she get to say what is black and what isn't? And she goes, well, then my kids are like what that would be called octoroons. Do they get to participate? And that logic was weird, because it was like, well, Dana Schultz isn't any parts black, which was like, so what's the parallel she's trying to make? And I think that what, to me, was so, I'm not even going to like drag it and make it extra. Like, I think that what was like just weird about the whole fucking piece was just like the assumption about identity crisis as it deals with racial identity has to, like, only mixed people deal with the complications of racial ambiguity. That, like, somebody who, like, even like me, or like somebody who's as dark as like Wesley Snipes doesn't find themselves navigating if they're black or not, or what makes them black and what doesn't make them black. Yeah. So the assumption is, oh, okay, like you're black and white, so obviously your identity crisis is more pronounced than somebody who like just looks all black. Like, I don't know if you ever seen the episode of Atlanta, the Donald Glover.
No, I haven't really.
You haven't watched Atlanta?
No.
Ah, all right. So there's an episode in Atlanta, and they're playing off of the Caitlyn Jenner thing, where like there's a black guy who, like, Caitlyn Jenner / Rachel Dolezal, but they're playing off this black guy who's like, big black guy with dreads who says he's a 35-year-old white man, and he like wears a blonde wig.
Oh no!
And the thing is comedic effect, because it's absurd, right? Like, it's like, of course this black man does not think he's white, but then it's like, well, who's to say he doesn't? Because if we're dealing with whiteness and blackness as these fixed identities, the presumption of these fixed identities is like, if you look at, of course you must be it, as opposed to like, who's to say that, like, once again, like, the old idea is like, well, as a mixed black person, I don't know what blackness is enough. I don't feel like I have enough claim on blackness to tell someone they can't partake in it. But then it's like, well, that's assuming that the people who are super black or dark skinned have any more license to say that. And it might play out that way in a public forum, but I feel like with blackness, with whiteness, with all these identities, everyone's trying to figure out where those boundaries lie.
It's a lot more complicated.
Yeah. And that's why, like, I felt like also what the piece felt like is she was blaming black people, doing the thing that like a lot of conversation with white people do, like isn't this reverse racism? Like, this is why we can't get anywhere, because now you're doing to us what society's done to you, which is like draw lines in the sand.
Right.
As opposed to look at the fact that like a lot of what happens with cultural appropriation is from this deep sense that like the culture that was born out of not being in, like, so the culture that black American culture is born with this history of it not belonging to the people who represent it, i.e. black people. And so, to me, when I hear cultural appropriation conversations, it's this sort of reminder that what's supposed to be ours isn't. But when any person of color tries to claim that culture, that claim to the culture gets criticized more than the person who tries to appropriate it.
Sure.
So like the Kylie Kendall Jenner thing, when they like took the Biggie, I don't know if you saw the Biggie and Tupac shirts,
Yeah.
and they like superimposed their names on it, and it's just like, that is a perfect example. And it's like the fact that you can do that is the problem, less than the fact that it can be done. To me,
Sure.
it's like anyone can do anything, but the fact that you know you can make that move, and then it'll still show up in a Whitney Biennial, and the fact that you could do a Biggie and Tupac shirt, and you can sell a shirt for $125, and it can sell.
Right.
It's like, I feel like that's the danger that, I feel like that piece largely ignored. Like, even if, like, as a person, I can say, well, I don't personally like the Dana Schultz piece, it's like, it's still in a fucking Whitney Biennial. Like,
Yeah.
like that's the real power of, like, cultural appropriation, that it can still get further than something that is, quote unquote, like, authentic, which is, like, even on, like, another harder.
Well, I feel like a good example is Despacito.
Okay. Or just
you know-
the Justin Bieber.
So, like, I was listening to a podcast the other day, and this guy in this podcast said something along the lines of, Justin Bieber brought this song to, from this place on the Billboard charts to this place, as though he had done all of this work on this song, and it already existed and was doing well, like when it came out in January.
Right.
And he doesn't sing that much in the song either.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, that's...
Didn't somebody throw a shoe at him for that? It's like, I could be
Bieber?
mistaken. So I think somebody threw a shoe at that guy.
I'm sure people have thrown a lot of things at him.
He's like the George Bush of pop world now. Like, people throwing shoes at him.
Oh.
Yeah, but that's like constantly the thing of like someone taking a song somewhere else and they get the credit for it. Like the label,
Sure.
like, oh, they did that. Like, it's like, eh.
Yeah, he sings like a couple of lines on the song. Yeah.
So yeah, back to Get Out though. Want to know
Oh, yeah.
who did you watch it with? Who did you watch it with?
I watched it with my brother.
Okay.
So I was visiting him in Massachusetts. He's my younger brother. And
Not biological younger brother or adopted younger brother?
we're not biologically related, but he's Korean also.
Okay.
Korean American.
All right.
Yeah. So we watched it together, and actually, our parents weren't home, and both of our parents are white.
Okay.
And it's funny, I guess for some reason I hadn't really thought of it until you asked me who I watched it with, but I suddenly just thought, what would it have been like if I watched it with my parents?
Yeah.
Probably somewhat different.
Yeah. I'm gonna say why, but you keep going.
Yeah, anyway, I think that the film is just so beautifully done because there are all of these moments where there's like these micro instances of narrative tension being ratcheted up, and they're like things that oftentimes like release and almost seem to go nowhere. So like when they get like pulled over by the cop, and she is sort of, pretty like forcefully saying that what he's doing is wrong, and he's sitting next to her like,
I'm not gonna say
okay,
shit.
honey,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
cool, and like they don't really discuss it, but those moments I think are really powerful.
Yeah.
In the film, and then of course there's the totally brutal ending scene. Yeah.
So the main thing I learned, and this goes with like a lot of art, that the audience matters when you take art in.
Yeah.
Because I watched Get Out at Court Street Movie Theater, which for anybody who doesn't know, in Brooklyn, it's like one of the blackest movie theaters you could go to, and that was
people having a great old
yeah,
time.
it was like a revival in there. It was like church.
Yeah.
Like people were like, woo! Like when he started killing the whole white family, it was like I could see the white people like, is this what y'all want? Like they were clapping like, I don't want to. Yeah, sure, yes, kill a white man. Like, just not me. And it was funny because I had watched the same movie as a science project, social experiment I like to do. I went to a movie theater that was all white, and it was not the same reaction. It was like a lot of uncomfortable, just like, laughter, like ha ha ha, but like I'm laughing because I don't know what else to do in these moments.
You did a control variable.
Yeah, because I mean, this has to do a lot with like, the background. Like my writing deals with a lot of like like aesthetically black things. So like there was one essay I remember where I was like, I talked about like, what is it, like catching a dub, like which if you grew up in a hood in Brooklyn, for example, or like a lot of hoods in New York, like a dub was like if you went to a party and a girl like put her butt on you and y'all was dancing. But like I had to explain so much of that in workshop that there were just so many slangs that I was like bringing up, like uptowns and like these things like that, and people were like, what is this, what is that, what is that? And you start to feel like, well, maybe my art doesn't matter. But when I would read these essays at like, black open mics, there wasn't that need to translate those experiences. And so with a movie like Get Out, it was important that black people saw it en masse, because there's an essay by James Baldwin. There's a collection of essays actually. It's actually one essay, but it's broken in 3 parts. It's called The Devil Finds Work, and it's a James Baldwin film criticism about like different movies he's watching. And one of them is about this movie where Sidney Poitier is a black prisoner chained to a white prisoner, and the movie's premise is like for them to get free, they have to rely on each other. Now there's a scene in the last part of the movie where James, like the chain breaks when they're running for a train. Sidney Poitier jumps on the train, he catches it, the white guy doesn't. Sidney Poitier looks and he jumps off the train. Now James Baldwin is like, all the white people in the film, all the white people in the audience cheered at that scene because it let white people know that black people are not that angry at them. But all the black people are like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, why would you jump off the train? And so it's like, it's these little messages and hints that let you know who a movie's for, based on like how this movie resolves itself. Now, I say that to say, like, when I went to go see Get Out, it was very interesting to see, like, it was vindicating for black people to see that movie. Now, I don't know if you know this, but the original ending to Get Out was not supposed to be the Get Out ending.
What?
Like, so the scene where and if you haven't seen it by now, like, this ain't even a spoiler right now. Like, you just fucking up. So if you ain't watch it, then that's too bad. But when the cop car pulls up and it's his friend, it's really supposed to be cops. And he's supposed to go to jail. Like, the movie's supposed to end with him in jail.
So it was going to be like a tragic ending.
Yeah. And so if my understanding was like, if that would have been the ending, I feel like that would have been like, that would have started some shit. Because you get the like sort of like the campy horror ending where it's like, whoo, I'm glad it's over. Whereas like that movie, in the same way that it echoed and sort of validated a lot of people's experiences around being around white people, that would have been just the final stamp, like, no, this is where we live, as opposed to like that sort of American, there can be a happy ending thing. Whereas like that ending, I think, is the real ending to so many stories in America, in America, for a lot of people of color, where like, no, like you just end up, regardless if you're right about what you're saying, you end up in this position that makes you look wrong. And so like, I was like, I think white people was nervous about that, and I think they would have been like super like, well, black people that movie would have been quiet. Black people would have left twice as angry. So I think it was really smart. Because at first I was like, they really gonna let this dude get away with killing these white people on screen like this? I was like, I was waiting for somebody to unplug the film. Like, I'm like, somebody's gonna, like, they did not let him do this. But then when I learned what the real ending was, I was like, no, they ain't let him do the other thing. So it's really a thing that, like, how you manage that. What was some of, how can I say this? What were some of the things that you found interesting? I mean, like when you intake culture, like that movie, what was your sort of, were you like, do you pay attention to the internet when you're like, after you watch something? Because I'm a person who's a purveyor of like, the responses are as interesting as the art itself.
Yeah, I love critical work.
So what was some of, like, to you, like some of the readings that had came out that you found particularly interesting about that movie?
About Get Out?
If there were any. I thought there were a lot, to be honest, but like any ones that you found that was worth noting.
You know, I actually don't know if I did it with Get Out now that I think about it.
Okay.
I think that I had listened to a discussion of it on a podcast. And I think that I had avoided reading some pieces about it before I saw it. But I think that was a movie that I didn't do it with.
Was that on purpose?
Yeah, I think that I kind of just felt like the movie was it was the sort of film that I felt really strongly in my response to, and I didn't really feel like I wanted to.
I even want to get mad at people.
Yeah.
So, new novel. You're working on it.
Yeah.
Tell us something about it if you can.
Okay.
What we doing?
Top secret.
Okay.
No,
G14 classified.
I'm just kidding. So it's actually a bit of a spy story.
Oh.
So some of it takes place in Northern Ireland during the Troubles, so like late 80s or early 90s. And then
This is that history major peeking out.
there you go.
Okay.
And some of it happens essentially now. So it spans from like London to Belfast to New York. A little bit of it is in China. Some of it's in Berlin. And it's also sort of a domestic drama. So there are like a few different families in it as well. And people's personal lives get sort of closely wrapped up in these like sort of larger plots that they don't quite understand.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how long we waiting for that?
Oh, well, I guess it depends how fast somebody buys it.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm just sort of wrapping up the revisions now, so I'm probably going to be sending it out in the fall.
All right. Cool. And so one of the elements of this show is we do like our version of a funk flex freestyle type situation.
Yeah.
We don't freestyle as writers. We got pieces. So I know you brought something to read
Oh yeah.
for the people. So
I
what you take us through that?
Okay.
So-
So I brought I'm not going to read the whole story because that would be too long, but I
Okay.
brought an excerpt
Okay.
from a story that was published this year in Scoundrel Time, which
Okay.
is an online literary publication.
All right.
And it's called Shuffle Off.
So take us through it.
Oh wait, I'm going to read it now, right?
Yeah, you got
Okay,
it.
yeah.
That's what we're doing.
Okay.
Back up.
All right, so this is just the beginning of Shuffle Off. There was a time where I was breaking a lot of things I'd fixed, which is to say, I was wasting second chances. I smoked myself right out of a position when the regional manager caught me puffing in the stockroom. Then, when I found a job at a sporting goods store down the street, I told this clerk kid there that if he knew anything about customer service, he'd slow down the ASS Express. The higher-ups figured I was a liability and gave him a few grand. I'd only meant to make light of a bad mood, but apparently when I started booming choo-choo and pumping my elbow in the air, a sexual innuendo was made, which makes you wonder what kind of freaky whoopee lawmakers have. Our branch manager had a sad little flopped-over mohawk. He'd never liked me once I got everyone calling him Flaccid Roger for his hair. You could tell he enjoyed giving me the can when it was time. You're done here. Finito. O-V-E-R. D-U-S-H, I said. Dush? Douche, I said. It means shower in French. This was one of the few things I'd learned from my father, and the only one worth repeating. After that, I looked around for barback jobs, security jobs, filing jobs. None of them would have me. I looked for delivery jobs, dishwashing jobs. Didn't dare for those offering salary. At night, I smoked myself to sleep. When I didn't have cash for that anymore, I smoked resin silly. I lay on the couch and thought about mothers and fathers, about the size of everything scientists call the universe, impossible kitchen scenes. It seemed like everyone I knew then wished he could even sell out, and some of the ones with girlfriends would pretend to still have jobs. Give us this day, our daily bread, I said at church, and I fucking meant it. One afternoon, when I'd gone to give my rap to God, I figured up a new prayer. After the compliment clause, dear, heavenly, gracious, great, glorious Lord, or something like that, I asked for him to make me a better man, someone like Jimmy Stewart in It's a Wonderful Life, or Jesus around 25 AD, even though I was 34, which was maybe creative math, because at 34, Jesus was dead already. Then I thought, forget Jesus, how about make me Charlton Heston and Ben-Hur, since he also outlived Jesus? I did the triple blessing thing, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, clasped my hands, and decided to go see about an ice cream. But when I got up to leave, my eyes traveled the stained glass stations of the cross as I turned, and then these kids, like actual little kids, were sticking me up for $11.60. "You always pray out loud, fuckface," said one as he pulled the gun. "Watch your mouth, kid," I said. "Kid? I'm 11. Where'd you learn how to count?" he said. One of his little friends poked me in the chest. "This tubby bitch," said the third, shaking his head. "Kid." I don't remember after that owing to a smack to the mouth with metal, and when I woke up, I was poorer a tooth and almost $12. Something like that happens, and the right thing to wonder is whether you prayed to the wrong celebrity. Ben-Hur was forced into slavery before the chariot race, after all. But I just wanted to find those kids and teach them how to spell shower in French, or something worse. I couldn't pay the dentist, so I went toothless. And since I was toothless, I shirked the social aspect. Happy just isn't the hour when there's explaining a bunch of infants emptied your mouth out. Sometime around then, I drank a whole bottle of sleeping pills and got stuck with a big bill for the stomach pump. The hospital said they'd work out a payment plan, which is why I'm changing bedpans. "It's noble work," my boy Carm said when I resurfaced. He was giving me the porcelain treatment, I guess because of the pump. "Yeah, sir bedpans a lot," I said. But I didn't have a lot of choices, and the stinking awful truth is, you think you've reached about as low as it goes, and then you see what happens right before death. All the inside things, organs or veins and such, go blue. You stop noticing the dripping drops of your own drool. When you sleep, you start passing for dead. When you wake up yelling, there's no way you're moving to Los Angeles with Watts in a riot. The arguments that happen around here about which president is sending the United States straight to hell can go on for days. "I can take a hike," an old person will say. "The one to worry about is Tricky Dick," another then explains gravely, shaking her head over the sad sucker who doesn't know the year. And so the decorated history of the United States goes. There's this one geezer lady always grabbing my arm when I'm changing her out, sloshing piss all over us both. "Right turn on red, legal or illegal," she'll say. I sing her some Highway to Hell, and she likes us okay, but she says her favorite is jazz. She'll be bebopping away all afternoon, but among the old, selves play hard to get more and more often, and there are afternoons when she just points to the television set crying, "Who?" I don't know the names of all these dead actors she points to, so I just sit there through these old movies, hoping the black and white bursts out into song sooner or later. If I'm lucky, one of the little gray figures will start doing some old-timey dances around the television set, singing about how she's gonna shampoo some guy right out of her hair, or how raindrops on roses and whiskers on kittens are, in her opinion, the goddamn Virgin Mother's tits. You'd be surprised how often the reruns, and I've started to know some of the songs myself. I go right in for the chorus if I do. The old lady stops hoo-hooing, and then we're getting along pretty good for a couple of sad sacks marinating in piss, and I go, "Sing it, Addie, now shuffle off to Buffalo," which is exactly what happened a few days ago when her kid came in. "Now shuffle off to Buffalo," I hollered. "What's going on in here?" he said. He was standing in the doorway, and I could tell he had been for some time. He asked like he was a dad walking in on a guilty-faced teenage daughter sliding to the end of the couch opposite her horny study partner, when in fact, it was his mother, and she'd really been hitting some high notes, too. I saw this movie once about a robot kid who could live like 800 years, but all he wanted was a mommy. He'd be melting some very big, bad robots with his orange laser eyes, and still be beeping, "Mama, Mama, D2647 JKL94 desires conference with Mama. Repeat, D2647 JKL94 desires conference with Mama." I guess there are limits to artificial intelligence. What I'll say about parents is this. You can't live with them, but if science ever progresses enough, I'd prefer a petri dish. After the sleeping pills incident, I got a letter from old Moira, my mom. It said this, Teddy bear, why did you do this, teddy bear? I'll never waste a thought on you again. Don't write back unless you're sending me a check." I'm surprised she remembered how to write, let alone my address. After my accident, which was sort of the opposite of an accident except for the living through it part, I asked Carmen Ritchie if they remember this robot movie. I wanted to know if D2647 JKL94 was as much of a dip as I remember. "D who?" Carm said. "D2647 JKL94. "Sounds like a locker combination to me," Ritchie said. "Or a lottery number," Carm said. Then Ritchie asked if we thought his ex-wife Margarita would take him back if he won $1 million. And when we said maybe, he asked what about $5 million? It went on like that in $4 million increments of luck for a while. So I didn't ask about that movie, and I didn't write Moira back. Sometimes I think about Moira and I think about that fake French fuck, my father, and I really believe scientists need to rethink all the stuff they say about the animal instinct to protect their young. Père Alexandre took off to France when I was a kid, and I almost don't blame him more as such a junky lunatic, but then I remember being like 11, and instead of sticking people up for $12, knocking on neighbors' doors, asking what they'd eaten for dinner, all innocent-like, as though I was just taking a poll for the Republicans, and I want those wire-rimmed, lab-coat dorks to get their heads in the game and work on making babies the right way for once. I could pray Maura and Lex would turn into lab equipment, but we all know how praying goes. What helps is this. I read Moira's letter, and I imagine the old geezer lady with the jazz songs, the one from my job, Addie. I pretend she's the one who wrote me, that she's my mom. Because when I see her singing and crying and asking about movies, it's like she's apologizing for the world, and I can't hate her.
All right.
All right.
Yeah, that's dope.
Thanks.
That's dope. So, tell us, what was that story about? What were you doing with that story?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's a story about a guy who's kind of hard on his luck at the time. And, you know, he's trying to sort of just figure out how to make his life work as an adult human being. And he's constantly coming up against, you know, the challenges that I think are very much a part of you know, his birth, in the sense that he's a character that doesn't come from privilege, and various sort of accidents in his life compound, various like inequalities compound, and by the end of this story, he's sort of thinking that he knows what he would say to his parents if he were to see them again, and then he like gets stuck. He gets stuck up again by the same kids at the end of the story.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's heavy.
He's just like crying outside, thinking about forgiveness, and then these little kids stick him up again.
And and what was, so like the title, and where were you, like what were you trying to bring across in that short story?
In the title of the story?
Yeah, like with the title. Like does your titles operate in that sort of way where if like the title is part of the clue of like how someone's supposed to read the story, or do you?
Oh yeah, well, so obviously there's like that one reference in the story where he you know, he like watches old black and white movies with this woman at the hospital who's losing her mind, and saying like "Shuffle Off to Buffalo," and you know, like when they do like "Shuffle Off to Buffalo" in those old movies, like sometimes they're like always moving sideways.
Yeah.
They're never moving forward.
Okay.
And a lot of times it's like the way that they like sort of come off stage.
Yeah.
And so we're sort of seeing this guy who's trying to change his life and he's trying to move forward.
He's moving laterally.
He like can only move sideways.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's heavy. That's some real shit. Before
it's okay. Just drink some more of your
Marduce.
Your Marduce.
No, we good. That's heavy. So before you leave, we got a few things. The first time we linked, you did your literary swag. I remember Don DeLillo being in it.
Yep.
All right. Has your literary swag changed since we first did it?
Well, you know, I thought about it, and it's so hard because I think what I realized is that I have sort of a different, I think it's a little bit different who I look to as novelists and who I look to as short story writers. So I was thinking about that when I was coming today.
Okay.
So I think if I were to do like literary swag and it was like 3 short stories, it would be
short story writers. It would be the writers.
Well,
Remember.
yeah, but I'm still gonna like shout out particular stories.
Oh yeah. Okay. Do your thing.
Okay.
Do your thing.
I'm just gonna do whatever I want.
Yeah, do what you want.
Yeah, so I was thinking about it though, and so there's an amazing story by Yoko Ogawa, Afternoon at the Bakery. It's really scary. It's perfectly structured. It's one of like my all-time favorites.
Okay.
Gorilla My Love by Toni Cade Bambara, which has such a strong voice and like more momentum than I think any story I've ever read. It's like, you know, from the first paragraph, it doesn't relent until the very end. And, you know, this character is really funny, and, you know, I think humor is just incredibly hard to do.
Yeah.
And she does it in this way that's sort of very loving, even though the character also sort of acts out and, you know, does ridiculous things, and it's okay because she's a kid. Yeah, and then Three Popes Walk into a Bar by Amy Hempel. So I spoke about Amy Hempel before, but like that's a great story about a stand-up comedian who's about to not be a stand-up comedian anymore. He's gonna like give it up and walk away for this woman who probably doesn't really love him. And I love that one as well. And that's another one where I think the humor works incredibly well, and you're sort of left really wistful at the end. Okay. But yeah.
And then the swag. Does your swag change?
Oh yeah. Okay. So the swag.
Okay.
So I mentioned earlier, I've been trying to work on just being more ethical and conscious about the clothes that I wear and buy. So first off, I'm trying to just not buy new clothes. So I'm like, trying to do vintage as much as I can, or just not buy anything. Okay. So, because essentially the clothing industry is totally fucked up and horrible, and you just have, children being abused and people not being paid right, and, the environment getting fucked up. But for basics, so like I told you about my white t-shirt thing.
The white t-shirt.
Yeah. I've been getting these Everlane t-shirts, and they at least try to be transparent. Okay. So that's cool. I mentioned Reformation last time, I think. Yeah. And I think I also mentioned my favorite local thrift store, Stella Dallas.
Yeah. Cool. So
there used to be one that I liked more, Atlantis Attic, but they moved, and it used to be like 2 blocks from my house. Yeah. But now, it's over by Popeyes now, so.
Popeyes with the chicken.
Yeah, Popeyes chicken. Yeah, it's right over there.
That's the wave. One of my last questions that I'm actually interested in. This movie got optioned.
Huh?
If this book got optioned for a movie, has it?
No.
Who would you want to see play Ollie?
Oh, whoa. That's a really, really hard question. I think partially because there are, so few Native American actors and actresses that sort of make it into movies that I've ended up seeing. And that's sort of an important part of the book, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Is to create.
Yeah. The character could not have been... I guess the character could have been white, but I don't...
No, but I like the fact... Why? I appreciated the fact that that you didn't take that route. Yeah, so basically, I feel like with novels, if people see more possibilities on screen, people create more possibilities on the page, and vice versa. Mm-hmm. And when a lot of novels get optioned for movies, but so many of these protagonists are white. And so what happens when a protagonist isn't, is that I feel like it sort of creates this necessity to go out and look for, hopefully, because they can just cast somebody who's white who sort of looks like they can be other, as opposed to like doing the due diligence of.
Yeah, well, that sucks.
Yeah. What sucks? Like them not
whitewashing?
Yeah, that's terrible. So before we get out of here, because we got cable install people coming through to install some cable to make this show even more lit. Tell us where we can find you on the internet.
Okay. So you can follow me on Twitter. Okay. At Tracy S. O'Neill. And that's also...
We're going to post-production. We're going to have you fly. I'm sorry about your mic. We're going to have you fly. It's going to come in on the screen as you say it. But keep talking.
Okay. Yeah. So at Tracy S. O'Neill is my Twitter handle and also my Instagram. Okay. You can check out my website, tracyo'neill.net. Okay. Like it's 1996 or something. Hey. And then also please do check out epiphanyzine.com.
Okay. Are you doing any readings, or is there any readings, any events you have coming up? People can link up with you at anything coming up.
I kind of don't remember. Look at my website and find out.
All right. So this is Yahdon Israel. This is Tracy O'Neill. This is Lit. We out.